Hey, HRN listeners, mark your calendars for Sunday, October 13th. HRN and the National Young Farmers Coalition are teaming up for a special event at Churchtown Dairy in Hudson, New York. In honor of National Farmers Day, we'll be celebrating with local food, a screening of the documentary Common Ground, and a live panel featuring Lee Penniman of Soulfire Farm, Chris Nickel of Finca Ceremos, and more. The first 50 people to register get a free gift at the door. It's a fundraiser for young farmers and HRN supporting farmer leadership, HRN's education programs, and Farm Bill advocacy. Don't miss out. Head to support.youngfarmers.org/cgfilm to reserve your ticket today.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
So you don't shun the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues that sing. It's gonna get you sun in the air.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Damon Boelte.
I'm Sother Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson. And guys, we're here with a special emergency episode of the podcast. Normally, as you know, we only record on Wednesdays, but it is currently Friday, October 4th, and we have some breaking news that I think is going to be extraordinarily important, and frankly, I couldn't wait. The New York Mets have advanced to the division series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, aside from the fact that this means that the entire state of New Jersey is just going to be a barren, burned out Mad Max style wasteland by the time this is over. I felt like this was news that we, as a premier baseball based podcast, could not let go uncommented upon.
Yeah. We're the official podcast of the NBL.
Yeah,
everyone knows that.
NBL.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it
was uncharted territory. No one else was claiming to be the official podcast of the NBL. It turns out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I love that we're taking up that mantle, even though I think of the three of us, you're the only one who is tremendously into the sport. However, you've invited on some guests today who are both absolute baseball nuts. But that's not even why we have them here to talk, but we can kick it off by talking to them a little bit about baseball. You want to bring them in?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of them is even properly adorned in a New York Mets hat. We've got Sam Ross, Miles McQuarrie, and Joaquin Simo, all of Tip Top Cocktails. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
hello. Nice to see you guys.
So Sam, kicking things off here, are you a Mets fan, or are you just in it for the fashion? It's a nice logo, but where's your heart?
No, die-hard Mets fan. I've been in New York 21 years, and I always say they were my first friend when I moved here. I didn't have a job. I didn't have friends. I had a couch to stay on. So they were my first friends in New York. The David Wright, Jose Reyes era.
Oh wow.
Was pretty exciting, and it just got more intense as the heartbreak continued year on year. I just got deeper and deeper into this team, and yeah, what a night last night. It was a terrible game until it wasn't, and my voice is still hoarse from screaming at my TV here in Red Hook.
I'm from Washington, D.C. originally. Of the two tattoos that I have, one of them is Washington Nationals based. So I cannot on like a cellular, like in my DNA level, root for the Mets. I just cannot make myself do it. But like, I do really love a team that has like gets so close and has so much heartbreak. So I think this might be the year I'm actually like, I can feel myself pulling for you guys a little bit. Like y'all been fun to watch too.
I don't need out and out support, but you wouldn't be mad if we went on a bit of a streak here, right? Is that what I'm getting?
I would certainly not be mad if you kicked the Phillies' ass. That is correct.
Hey.
That would not make me upset in the least.
Anytime Philly sports fans can be sad, I am happy.
Oh, I love their tears.
Man.
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh!
I drink them. Speaking of things that are drinkable, I don't know. I know this is a baseball podcast, but like, you guys want to talk about cocktails or some shit? I don't know. We got some time to kill here.
I'm still on Major Baseball League, so but, I love this time of year because it's like We no, because I want to talk about the National League of Football too, but we only have so much time on this podcast, so you guys don't get my humor anymore. So I got hit up on the internet, on an email rather, a few months ago by Amanda, who works with Tip Top, and she was like, "Hey, so I wanted to tell you about Joaquin Simo's cocktail he's doing with Tip Top." I was like, Joaquin's got a cocktail with Tip Top. I mean, like, I knew the classic line, like the Negroni and old fashioned stuff like that, and I was like, "Holy shit! Okay, yeah, it's Joaquin's Naked and Famous." And then, like I got it in the mail, and I got a sample box, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is delicious!" And then like 2-3 weeks go by, and she's like, "Hey, have you tried Sam Ross's cocktails?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I leave New York, and they start giving every New York bartender their own canned cocktail. Anyway, but we should go to the beginning though and talk about Tip Top as a brand. And they're the cutest little cans. They're like 100 ml cans, and they're actually, there's so many RTDs out there in the market these days. But these to me are like, even before I had my friends' faces on the sides of the can, I was really impressed by, first of all, I love the packaging. It's very like kind of 1950s. And, I had the Negroni in the can, and I was like, what the hell? Like, someone did it. It's good. Like, what? And you can take one on a flight. You can actually carry one on I don't know. Yeah. Don't tell them what it is. Tell them it's like tomato juice or something. I don't know. But let's
physically you can carry them on. Legally,
gray area.
It's the right size. But let's talk to Miles about. Can you give us the backstory of Tip Top and your role with the company? And let's take it from there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on board since the very beginning, and both of the founders, Yoni and Neil, both lived in New York for a long time, and I think it was really kind of Yoni's original brainchild, and I think he was trying to solve a problem, and he was tired of juicing ginger at his house to make penicillins. And I think the end game was really just for him to be able to drink penicillins whenever he wanted, not have to juice any ginger anymore. And so we finally got there for him. So I think he's ready to step aside any day now. Now that he solved that problem.
Nice.
But really, it was. It's been a fun project. They were like in the music side of things for a long time, and we're founders of like Governor's Ball and work for some other music companies. And so the initial idea was they don't drink. It's funny, like going out with them, they don't drink beer, they don't drink wine at dinner. Like, these guys literally just drink cocktails. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it's really unique. Like, I like to bookend. Like, I'll have a cocktail before a meal. They just drink cocktails, and so they were tired of going to places that didn't have good drinks. And I think they were really trying to solve a problem of like, if you're at a music venue, you can't get a good cocktail, and that was kind of the initial thought. And then when COVID hit, that all kind of changed a little bit because the venues were shut down and everything. And it started with just the classic lines. There was a lot of Palomas and like carbonated stuff out there already, so they wanted to do something a little more classic and boozy.
It's funny you should say that about like serving at live music venues. It's for me being a musician, I'd be at like Bowery Ballroom playing that night. I'm like, why can't I get a proper cocktail? Until I actually got one, and then I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't drink cocktails while I'm on stage. But that's to each their own. But you're totally right. Like festival markets, different places, like even like dive bars that don't really want to make cocktails. I mean, you can get a proper cocktail, with things like this. So very cool. Sother, you were going to say?
Yeah, I remember 5 years ago, Neil stopping by Amore Margo and saying, honestly, the bar was some of his inspiration. We have those signs on the wall that are old-fashioned Manhattan Negroni, and that's the first 3 that you guys put together. And he brought me some, and I really enjoyed them because I thought, this is the first time I've had an RTD that's made with actual booze, has a higher ABV. It's not a malt liquor that's masquerading as a vodka soda or whatever. And then, obviously over the years you've progressed and you put out other ones. I've got the Mai Tai here. I'm going to drink when we crack these open in a minute. You started doing ones that have juicy qualities to them, but still maintaining that high ABV, right? This one clocks in at 26%, right? Yeah. like what was in the early days of the company, like what was the impetus to like start with classic stirred boozy cocktails and now then make that switch into juicier ones and then incorporate guys like Sam Ross and Joaquin Simo to come in with these modern classic cocktails as well?
I think it started with the boozy ones. They didn't really exist that much, and the ones that did, I think, weren't of the best quality. And luckily, like for me, who's somebody who is in the bar business and owns a bar, and just I care more about good drinks than I do, about putting out RTDs and stuff like that. They were all about quality first. We'll never skimp. Like if we have to use something more expensive to get to the end result to where it tastes right, that was always their number one thing. And that was like kind of a promise they made to me when I jumped on board, and they stuck to it the whole time. And so after, not everybody wants to just drink the stirred, bitter, boozy cocktails all day. So the juice drinks were kind of a natural progression. Maybe eventually you switch it up and drink something with some citrus. And
Sure.
And then we're also kind of, I think like limitations are good, and we are limited to the 100 ml can. So we've gone through a pretty good gamut of, classic drinks that are in that size. And so the next natural progression was to think about some of the like more iconic modern classics and start going that direction.
There's like a really great, it's like an asset to have it in a small can, because, a lot of RTDs are, and even canned wine, a lot of times if you get like a 12-ounce can of rosé or Pinot Noir or whatever, that's half a bottle of wine. And a lot of times people don't realize that. Like people like me who'll just put a beer koozie on it and just walk around drinking it out of the can. I'm like, oh, why am I so buzzed? It's like, oh, I've had. It's like I thought I only had one glass of wine. So like this is actually more in control of the actual proportion and the serving size of the cocktail. And another thing that's cool about these, that I think, if you don't mind me saying, it's like you can just like on these three cocktails that we're going to talk about today, Sam and Joaquin's cocktails, with the Negroni or an old fashioned or anything like that, you can just pour it over ice or like stir it, or But these, you say you can just shake it in the can and then pour it over ice, and that's really cool too. I mean, I like to go camping, and this is like perfect, for like I don't have to batch cocktails anymore or bring a bunch of stuff. It's like it's already done, And again,
I think that's when it makes sense for people like us who are drink professionals who probably make drinks at home. And so it's like we're not going to bring a kit camping with us or like out on a boat. So there's so many good situations to bring. Like I love taking a little cooler of Tip Tops and another cooler of ice and some plastic cups if we go out like on one of the lakes in Georgia and you just start drinking boozy cocktails on a boat. What could go wrong?
So easy. Joaquin, how did they reach out to you, and how did this deal get struck with you? Because you kind of they came out so quickly between you and Sam. It seems like it happened at the same time, but they probably spread it out so there'd be a little bit of two launches. But how did they come to you, and what was your initial feeling? I'm sure I've been approached by people to do canned cocktails in the past and have said no. I'm sure there was some quality assurance levels that you had to have them meet before you said yes. So talk us through that conversation.
Well, I think there's a couple of like fits and starts early on and like in our communication, but I think Kelly Thorne actually was the one who finally brokered the introduction that kind of stuck. But I had known Miles. We had judged a Southeast regional of the Heaven Hill Bartender of the Year competition in the before times together. So I'd met Miles. I'd had his drinks. I mean, I literally had judged a cocktail competition alongside him. So I had immense respect for his palate. And so when I knew he was the one who had been involved in the liquid development for it, I had a lot of faith in that liquid was going to be really, really, really high level. So when they reached out to me about doing it, they were like, "Well, we've got the liquid already finalized, so we actually don't need your help for that. And so what we want is we just need some help with the promotion part of it." So we negotiated some terms for that. And I think the original launch date for it was supposed to be something like, I forget if it was like the end of April or mid-May was when it was supposed to be. I think this was like around February that we had these conversations. And then the tanker of mezcal that was destined to go into the Naked and Famous was stuck in a port for about 4 months or something. So the launch date got pushed back from like mid-May to August.
I didn't know it had port in it.
So it ended up butting up.
Was this the Suez Canal debacle by any chance?
It might have
Wait,
been.
there's a canal made of Suze? All right, enough of that.
Oh boy.
Too many cocktail
boy.
nerds on a podcast.
Jesus Christ.
I like that
Back
we
to
all wore our
baseball.
glasses, though. We look great. Oh, Joaquin took his off.
Yeah.
So these guys came to you. That's a really fast turnaround. I didn't realize that. So the formulation, they'd already been like, well, we're going to make the Naked and Famous. If Joaquin's on board, great. But if he's not, fuck him. Right? Is that basically what it was?
Well, can I interject for a second?
Maybe.
So,
Of course.
from the beginning of doing any of the modern classics, it was one of my like hard lines was, I don't want to do this if we don't get Joaquin and Sam involved. Like both of those guys are people who I really respect in the industry, and like one of the first times that I ever went to New York and had a cocktail experience, it was Joaquin and Alex behind the bar at Death and Company, and it kind of blew my lid off. And so it was really important for me because my day job is that I'm a bar operator, and that's hugely important to me. And so we tried to get Joaquin involved early on, and our wires just got crossed, and it never happened. So we were like, well, maybe let's just move forward with it, and we'll send him a can, and hopefully he likes it. And if we have to tweak it, we have to tweak it. And I think he liked it, and we sent it. So
Yeah. By the time, like when Kelly finally got like that connection to actually happen, I think the liquid had already been developed. So they sent me like a little bottle in the mail in like a freezer pack thing, and I shook it up, put it over ice, and gave it a taste. And I was like, "Yep, Miles nailed it." It was really good. So I was like, at that point, we just reached back out and we're like, all right, let's chat about moving forward and how best to go. But I mean, Neil and the whole team have been nothing but an absolute pleasure throughout this whole process. And we hung out when they've come up to New York. We're hanging out down in New Orleans. So just like lovely people in addition to whatever they're doing with canned stuff. I mean, they're good guys.
Yeah. Sammy, your experience is kind of similar. Did they approach you beforehand, or did they come to you and say, "Hey, we've already kind of formulated these"? What was the experience like for you?
No, it was a little bit different. I for whatever reason was playing very hard to get.
I feel like that's your nature.
I don't know if Miles would back that up, but I must have had so many different people reaching out to me. On behalf of them, they must have put the network out very wide to try and come back. And I think after like the 9th or 10th industry professional colleague that reached out to me saying, "Hey, these guys are trying to get in contact with you," I think I said to myself, "Listen, if 3 or 4 more different people reach out to me, I'll consider this." And it did. It happened. No, I was in between a bunch of projects, and I just didn't give it too much thought, and then I started speaking to some people in the canned cocktail or familiar with Tip Top, and telling me how they were Tip Top. They were really, a cut above the rest, and so we finally got on a call and discussed both the penicillin and the paper plane, and they hadn't come up with anything at that point, which was great because I really only wanted to. I wanted to be very hands-on with the development with them, so. It was great. They're very easy to communicate with. Their flavor team are wizards. I don't know how they do it, but we would version 1 would come out. They would ship it to me. We'd get on a Zoom. We'd all taste it together. We'd sort of talk about our notes. Come back 2 or 3. I think the penicillin took maybe 4 rounds. I think the paper plane only took maybe 3 rounds, but it was all just a very easy process. There wasn't any conflict. It wasn't like, well, I think it's okay, and I think it's not okay. It was like we were all on the same page on everything that we were tasting, and yeah, super happy with the end result as well.
That's awesome. I have some receipts here, real quick. Last March 4th, 2023, I was like, "Hey, any interest in introduction to my palate, Tip Top Cocktails?" And you're like, "I think I'm good on the intro. Thank you, though." So maybe I was one of the first to reach out. So maybe a couple more people reached out and nudged the ball up the hill or whatever. That's awesome, and I'm excited. I haven't tried either of yours. I've been a fan of these guys for a long time, but I think I would ask you both. I know that we're all quite serious about branding ourselves and branding our businesses, and how important it is to not kind of fuck that up. And I would ask you both, how heavily did that sort of weight on your head about thinking to yourself, well, we've made these cocktails for so long, we're known for making them, and now we're going to put them out in a can to go to the world. How agonizing was the decision?
Yeah, I think, and initially, I think that was probably why I was so reticent to at least even start a dialogue. Is just thinking, because these are juice-driven cocktails, and especially you've got the ferocity of fresh ginger, and we're going to have these as pasteurized products. They're going to have to be shelf-stable. So how do you translate, that bright freshness of a cocktail served to you a la minute in one of our venues? How does that translate to a can that you crack and pour over? So that was, that was a huge concern because, you mentioned it. Don't want to sort of dilute the brands or have people drinking bad versions of what we're proud to be able to serve. So it was in tasting a few other. They sent me over a bunch of their different samples, and they had already tackled the ginger issue as well on a previous drink. I think they'd done a mule of some sort. And so I tried that, and there was that spice that came through, and the citrus wasn't tasting like a store-bought lemonade situation. So I was, it was after I tried a few of them, I was like, all right, well, let's, I feel pretty good about it, because I didn't want it just to be an okay version of one of these drinks. I wanted it to be just as good of a version that you'd get if you were sitting at someone's bar and they made it for you, and that's what I really think they were able to, we were able to combine together, accomplish with how they came out.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you, after a while, you have, you're behind the bar, you can make the drink for guests. People would come in to Pouring Ribbons and be like, oh, can Joaquin shake up a Naked and Famous for us? And, I'd go and I'd prepare the drink for them. Always happy to do it. And you always had the utmost control. I was always using Chichicapa. The lime juice was always perfect. I could really dial in exactly how that guest could experience that drink. But at the same time, throughout all those years, and Sammy, I'm sure you deal with this as well, you're getting text messages multiple times a week from friends, from family members, from regulars, from coworkers, from colleagues, who are just showing you a little picture of your drink on a menu somewhere. And it could be anywhere from, Kansas City to Buenos Aires to Shanghai and everywhere in between, right? And you see the spirits that are being called for in there, or someone's riffing on it a little bit and they've tweaked the name. After a while, these drinks have been around for a decade and a half. You've kind of ceded some amount of control over them, because they are being prepared all over the world obviously without your permission, if such a thing. But I think at certain point, something becomes so ubiquitous and so out there in the world that you do have to realize people are going to have this even if they're not at my bar, and kind of the release of that. So if someone's going to offer a really beautiful canned version of it, then you're not going to be mad at that, because honestly, that canned version that Miles helped develop tastes, I'm sure, better than some of the ones that I've seen on menus sent to me.
Right. That's what I was thinking. At least you established this is a standard across the board for that now maybe even that guy who's making your drink in Buenos Aires can taste the can and say, can I achieve the can? Am I even getting to this point, right?
Yeah.
Miles,
here's my
get rid of your cat.
Get rid of my cat.
He could have stayed. It's no big deal.
It was cute.
I'm not allergic. Yeah.
I will say I just poured the penicillin over ice. I just shook the can. I have had these in the refrigerator. Shook the can, put it over ice, and shed a little tear, because I haven't I haven't been to Attaboy in a little while. I need to. It's been a while since I've been to Nashville too, and I need to go to that one, amongst other places. But the thing that gets me about this penicillin when I first taste, the first one I tried was Naked and Famous, and I was skeptical just for the reasons you were talking about, about this is your recipe. It's something that you see on menus all around the world. People kind of take their own liberties with tweaking your recipe. And a lot of times it comes down to price and availability of the ingredients. I'm talking more about like the liqueurs and the spirits, right? But
Sure.
the thing about this, you were talking about the ferocity of ginger. Everything comes through on this. The honey comes through, the ginger, and the lemon is like the citrus. There's some sort of witchcraft and wizardry, Hogwarts type shit going on here with Tip Top, because like when I tasted the Naked and Famous, I was blown away by. That's the hardest thing to me to nail on an RTD. Doesn't matter if it's in a bottle or in a can. It's like there's always something kind of like off, acrid. Maybe it's too acidic. Maybe like you said, kind of grocery store lemonade vibes. But this is actually so well balanced, like that it actually, like I said, you know, I tasted the Naked and Famous first. A few weeks later, I get the paper plane and the penicillin, and I was just like, each time I open one, I was like, all right, so how are they going to fuck this one up? You know, and then I was pleasantly surprised every time. And, you know, this is a penicillin. This is a penicillin. It has your face is on the side of the can, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said about that, you know, and it's just great. I mean, I can't sing the praises enough. Let's talk about the Naked and Famous real quick, Joaquin, because I'm going to shake this up in the can and I'm going to pour it in a glass.
I mean, how complicated can it be to recreate a drink that has probably like how many ingredients does Aperol have? Sother, you might know.
Oh yeah, I like that Sammy was giving you. It's 4. Joaquin, there's only 4 things in your drink. I don't know that Aperol. I don't know that Aperol is out there telling us how many ingredients they have in there, but
let's call it a couple dozen.
Less than 30, I would say.
So, I think too that in the development process that the Naked and Famous, it took forever, and I think that may have helped because these flavor wizards that we're speaking of, they have to recreate this thing that you can't buy totes of, and it took really to try and match Aperol and yellow chartreuse in this. It was not easy, and I think that may have put the paper plane development a little bit ahead of where it would have been if they wouldn't have already had to try and make that Aperol based flavor.
Yeah, right.
And that and kind of the way that it always works from the beginning is we will they'll come to Kimball House and I will make a drink. Like I'll just make it like somebody's at the bar, you know, if it's something stirred, I'll do frozen mixing glass, you know, the whole thing, get it properly diluted, strain it into a bottle. And then we'll make like 4 drinks and we'll bottle it and we'll mail it off. And then they do whatever analyzation they have to do to try and, you know, clone it essentially, and they mail it back. And it's always that begins the back and forth. And the Naked and I'd have to ask like Yoni, Neil, and Gus how long they think, how many back and forths that took, but it took a long time for sure.
Sure.
I mean, just between the 2 liqueurs, you're looking at like 150, 160 ingredients, right? So I mean, that's just like, where do you start?
Centuries of R&D, you know, there's that too. And you're trying to like bang this out in a season. Yeah, it's so crazy. It reminds me of kind of
secretive R&D.
Right? Yeah. But it kind of reminds me of like some, you know, kind of like controlled states or certain like Kate Gerwin at Happy Accidents. You know, she's got her distillery and they can't have any outside liqueurs or other ingredients, so they have to make everything there, right? So it's kind of like that. Like you're doing a similar process I mean, of course, you're not creating your own, you're not producing your own mezcal and things like that, but like the liqueurs and the modifiers, that's where it's even trickier. And so, yeah, kudos to that. I was thinking about that actually when I opened the Naked and Famous. I was like, how the hell did they get a container of chartreuse? But of course, it would say chartreuse on it. So very cool. But it tastes. This is a Naked Famous. You know, it's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
No,
Happy Friday.
Great job.
What's the proof on the Naked and Famous, guys? What did you
think it's
finish
50.
that one at?
I think they're all 50 proof, 25%. Yeah. No. Sorry, the paper plane is 23.
Yeah, we
46.
pulled ours back to 23. I think that was like a big thing when we were taste testing. Actually, it seemed like for both of them, penicillin and the paper plane, that bringing them back just a notch really helped with the balance as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the
Oh, you're right.
mystery seemingly has been solved by people who are making, RTDs on the citrus front. I think all of us are maybe a little bit older and think that like I think back to what you just said when you said it earlier, grocery store lemonade or whatever, supermarket lemonade. That made sense to me. That's how I feel like all those things tasted. But that's in the past, I think I don't really drink a lot of RTDs today, but there's so many of them on the market. Surely we've cracked that code, right? We've cracked the solving the citrus code. But it's really fascinating to know, Miles, that you had to crack. I didn't even really kind of put that together, that you had to crack making basically an analog to chartreuse and an analog to Aperol just for one drink.
And it's obviously we'll never get the exact same, but as close as we could. And I think those were the really big challenges with with both the paper plane and the Naked and Famous.
Well, do you now have that in sort of your arsenal? Now has that unlocked
that's what I was thinking.
any other drinks out there? If you wanted to do, I don't know. I love an Alaska. It's like I'm the only one who will stand that drink, but I fucking love it. And
I'm a big fan too.
Yeah,
it's not to
put it
like
in a
about
can.
it.
I'll smuggle it into the movie theater. I'll drink the shit out of it. But but now that you've got the sort of the yellow chartreuse thing down, is that like, okay, now we can map this onto every other. We have this tool in our tool belt. Where else can we deploy it?
Yeah. Honestly, I had I was really nervous. I had very little faith in both the Naked and Famous and the paper plane when we started talking about doing it. Because of those reasons, like the penicillin, I knew we already had we've done ginger before, and I like felt better about that. But now that they actually made it happen, I have a faith that we could do anything at this point.
Yeah. Speaking of, so I've got the paper plane also now poured in front of me. I'm triple fisting on this Friday afternoon. I love it. So we've talked about the Aperol and kind of like going from the Naked and Famous. Now we're at the paper plane. So you've got the Aperol Proxy, right? But then now you've got the Amaro Nonino. So, which is it's one of my favorite Amari. It's grappa based. Did you do a grappa base for this one when you were R&Ding the Nonino Proxy, or did you just kind of go
I
your
would
own
assume
route?
no. So we're not involved in the process of what they'll tell us what they use, but I could almost guarantee that it's not a grappa base. It's probably NGS and all of their different like distillates and essences and extracts and things.
Gotcha.
They like do all these compound blends to try and create whatever it is that we're asking them to create.
Cool. I mean, it's right on though.
Yeah, these guys aren't just doing oleolytic tests with their palate and their nose. These guys are putting things through a gas chromatograph and like really boiling down to the atomic level. I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah,
and that's why you're satisfied with the product. Yeah, and they're scientists. We're alchemists, right? That's why you're satisfied. All three of you are satisfied with the products and happy and proud to put them out there. What's been the response so far? I mean, I know the response to Tip Top. You just turned 5 years old. But what's been the response for you, Miles, at Tip Top, and for Sammy and Joaquin? Like, how are people like receiving this well? Are they, again, have you, over the broad period of your drinks existing, I know, as you just mentioned before, and I've heard you talk about it before, the constant weekly text messages or daily even probably are starting to train down, but are they spiking back up now that people are like, I got your drink in a can? Oh, hello. Right?
Cat's back.
Yeah, the
different
cat's back.
one. I have 17 cats.
What?
No, I just have two.
Honestly, depending on the cat, the difference at that point could be academic. One cat can fill the place of 16 and vice versa.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, are you like re-experiencing the like newness of the phenomenon of the drinks themselves?
I think when the initial packages went out, and I think Tip Top did such a great job of the packaging. You guys saw it. The box that it came in sort of resembled, the front door of Attaboy, which was formerly Milk and Honey, which is where these drinks were created. So I don't know. It for me, like, it was a real immersive experience there as well. Like, kind of the people that have had these drinks back when it was Milk and Honey, or come into Attaboy and had these drinks, this packaging, you know, opening it up and stepping through the doors, I felt really good about it. So when the initial packages all went out, I got a real warm feeling from the response that I got from, you know, the industry professionals and friends and family that we sent it out to. And then, you know, was emailing with the gang this week, and it looks like we're pretty much sold out. So we might be on to batch number 2 then, Miles, right? Are we
Yep.
gonna crank it up?
Nice job.
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
job.
They're not that. Yeah, if it sells out that quick, they're going to do another run. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss something? Was this supposed to be maybe a limited run, or is this going to be an ongoing flavor with the brand?
I can't speak for them because as you know, the 3-tier the wonderful 3-tier system in the United States doesn't allow me to be a partner in Tip Top, but
Right.
I will say that that I think they've been really good about, you know, some of these special edition ones, like even, you know, the Jungle Bird, for instance, they'll maybe let it go away for just enough to let the hype build back up.
Mm-hmm.
So when they do a redrop, everybody's just like chomping at the bit to get the next round. So yeah, I think that this will stay going for a while.
These will be like collectible, you know, like when you find, like, you go into an antique store and you see like an old like Coca-Cola can from like the first Super Bowl or whatever, you know,
or Billy
like,
beer.
People, you're gonna be able to like buy these empty cans, you know, they'll be like $15 for an empty can, you know, on an antique shelf, something like that.
Damn.
Like clear cola.
No, it was Pepsi Clear.
It was definitely my understanding that we were going to sort of be looking at doing this for a 2-year span and then sort of reassess at that point. So that was my understanding. Cool. I hope that hasn't changed.
Yeah, no, I don't see. Like I said, this, you know, the and I think these have been really exciting for people, like, you know, people in the cocktail world, not like, you know, on our side, but people who just generally enjoy cocktails, to be able to get a Naked and Famous, to get a Paper Plane, to get a Penicillin, which is beyond just the classic that they maybe are already making at home with ingredients that are out there. That this is like the first time that they've been able to take this to parties or give it to a friend. I mean, just the feedback that I've received on these gentlemen's drinks has been nothing but positive so far. So
yeah, for sure.
It's like when you go to like Long Island bar and Toby makes you a Cosmopolitan. It's like, it's kind of like they're actually, by getting a Tip Top in a can, it's kind of like you're having a cocktail that was actually prepared and approved by the living legend that created it, you know? It's like, it's a beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah.
You don't even have to be at the bar to do it. So my mom in Lone Wolf, Oklahoma, I can send her some of these and she'd be like, I remember Joaquin. He's the guy that lives on the corner of your bar. Such a nice boy.
I was gonna say Long Island. Should be like Long Island Bar. Is that where that prick Phil Ward works?
Yeah. I've heard of this guy.
I had the distinct pleasure of serving Phil Ward dinner last night over the bar at Gus's. Charmer, always a charmer, that guy.
Yeah.
Well, this actually kind of gets into something that I kind of want to ask the two of you about, because you're, you know, I know that you, Sam, and you, Joaquin, are going to roll your eyes at this, but it's true. You're kind of like elder statesmen of like the cocktail world at this point. And, you know, I know, I'm sorry. Someone had to, we tell it like it is here on the Speakeasy, man. But I'm also thinking, because I've been seeing a bunch of bands that have been around for a while these like last few weeks. And, you know, I feel like whenever you go see someone like a Metallica or like Guns N' Roses or something, when they come out and they're like, and now here's something from our new album, everyone just goes, boo.
Right.
So
collective
I don't know,
groan.
like, what is your sort of relationship to putting these drinks that are, you know, modern classics in their own right, that are kind of your, you know, the big hits? Do you see this as you two playing the hits, or do you see this as you two like kind of taking, I don't know,
and you two, or
analogy,
the two of them?
The two of you.
Okay, not you two.
I mean,
the band.
Yeah.
Not you two. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They're
Okay,
out.
gotcha.
I don't know, saving the world or something.
Sure.
Running the World Bank. I'm not sure.
Probably at a pub.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you see this as you guys playing the hits, or do you see this as kind of a, a reimagining, a cover, a remix? I don't know. Maybe the analogy doesn't stretch this far, but like, where do you see this in terms of your kind of like the
This is a
history?
really long way of calling
things
them
you've
old,
created?
man. Like, what are you doing, Greg? What is this?
I gotta look.
How dare you talk to our guests this way?
Jeez, we're in our 40s now. Come on.
Yeah, listen, I'm the oldest guy in the room. Greg's the youngest guy in the room. But I
We're all
do see
old
the
to Greg.
question. Yeah,
It's a good,
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
good
We're all older,
question.
Greg.
And this is definitely playing the hits from my perspective of for sure. This is definitely playing the hits. But again, as this canned cocktail market expands and as the science allows for better tasting, drinks to, be stored in this form, I'd love to do, more. I'd love to do other original creations, going forward as well, seasonal or what have you. I think it's definitely wet my whistle for this whole angle of getting quality drinks in front of people, which is what we try and do anyway.
Yeah.
And speaking of
and
cans, Sam, I got to just call out real quick. I was at Milk and Honey one night, and I was there with a friend. We were sitting there having cocktails, and all of a sudden, I see you making a drink, and it was like something with Coca-Cola. It was like a rum and Coke, and I was like, why would anyone order that?
The famous Milk and Honey rum and Coke. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So then, I don't know. It's a few weeks later. We were hanging out, and I was like, "So Sam, I've been dying to ask you this question, but I noticed when you open up the Lowboy, all your sodas are in cans." And I was like, "What's the deal with cans? You would think a place like this would be like glass bottles or whatever." And you're like, 3 things: they stack, they get cold faster, and they don't break. And I was like, "All right, I just got schooled myself." So this is kind of like the bookend to that like first moment of me knowing you until to this point. It's beautiful, full circle.
They fit together like 2 cans stacked on top of one another. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's funny is the only person I can remember making rum and cokes for at Milk and Honey was T.J. Siegel, who was the inventor of the Gold Rush. I'm pretty sure he was the only one that would have the gold. Well, he wasn't really paying for drinks either. He was Sasha's best friend. But I'm pretty sure that's the only person I would have made rum and cokes for back in the day.
That's awesome. Oh man, but yeah, that was a special moment. It might have been like my 3rd time there or something. I was just really confused, but now it all makes sense. We're having this moment of clarity with these canned cocktails, these awesome little canned cocktails. So
one thing I wanted to call out, because Sammy mentioned it specifically with the packaging on his, the guy who does all the illustration work for Tip Top is someone that most like hardcore cocktail geeks would already recognize. It's Bert Sasso, who's also done like all the illustrations for Jim Meehan's books and such.
Yeah,
right.
So if any of that started, like if some of that style looked familiar, I did want to call out Bert. He is
very cool. Thank you for that.
He's such a great visual stylist, and I love how much he cares about cocktails, and he's done work with a lot of great people. So definitely wanted to make sure that he got some big ups.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. He's also a founding partner of one of the great Atlanta bars, Ticonderoga Club. And so he's done all their branding from the beginning.
Yeah, the place is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Kimball House is awesome too. Atlanta's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
go Braves!
Oh man,
NBL.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, it's hard being an Atlanta sports fan sometimes,
Oh, speaking of Atlanta sports fans, sorry about Dikembe. I know that must have been a big loss.
Yeah.
That was a tough one. As I caught myself doing the finger wab to your Braves thing, I was like, oh wait, Dikembe. Oh, sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Way to kill the vibe,
Yes.
Joaquin.
Yeah, wow.
If only we had something to pour one out for Dikembe Mutombo.
You don't?
My Tip Top cocktails are long gone, guys. Those did not survive very long in my apartment.
That actually that made me think of something else. Since they are in cans, and they're tiny cans, has anyone shotgunned one of these yet? I mean, like
You cannot, and I'll tell you why.
They're not carbonated.
Maybe Aaron
enough, are they?
Polsky.
Well, even if they were carbonated, this is actually a good tip-top fact. So those cans are not aluminum; they are steel because the proof is so high that it would corrode and eat through the aluminum over time.
Yeah, they're very
not
sturdy.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
You
more
could
you
not,
know.
you could not puncture those.
Do not crush one on your forehead.
Yeah.
Miles, did you guys learn that the hard way? Not the crushing, the corroding.
No,
The
so
corrosion,
we
yeah.
actually we found that out earlier. It wasn't like we didn't learn it the hard way, fortunately. And those guys, the canning line, because that's a real unique size can. You can't just like get that made. So they own the canning line, and they've switched co-packers a number of times, which is just the people that get the bulk liquid and pack it in the can. And they've had to move their canning line across multiple states because it's such a kind of niche piece of machinery. But I think they found out early on that they were going to have to use steel because of how strong it was when they were doing some of their initial development and research.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's good to know something I drink on a daily basis can corrode steel.
Yep.
Didn't you ever take like rust off of like your bike chain or anything like that using like Coke or Pepsi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Battery
that got me
terminals.
off soda at a pretty young
totally.
age. I was like, when I saw what that would do to like a playground slide, I'm
that's
like,
it.
ooh, that looks clean now. Ooh.
Yeah, probably not so good for me. No, and also I think that I never thought of it like that, but I always did think these little cans were super stiff and strong, and that's why Damon said he had his in the fridge. I keep mine in the freezer, right? So they are rocket cold and ready to go. They're high enough ABV, they don't freeze, and the can, is dense enough to take that pressure. But man, I really love. I've been a big fan of the original three for a long time, and then as they keep dripping out, I have a liquor store just here on my corner that has them up on the counter, and as I walk by, sometimes
Nice.
I'll pop in and grab one, or two or four. But they haven't gotten a hold of the two new ones, the three new ones from these two guys, and I'm really excited to see them. And also, I'm just frankly excited to see my friends, colleagues out there doing things that are beyond their four walls, right? It's great to see that, and I'd love to see more of it. I know I talked to Neil some time ago. He was interested in doing the Sharpie mustache, which I would love for him to do. It's not my drink; it's Chris Elford's drink. So I hope that he pursues that in the future. I think that would be a great one to do. And I don't know, I love the product already. I'm a big fan, big supporter. So I'm stoked to see you guys in there. And I'm glad that you're stoked.
I'll tell you
to
what would
be
be
in
a
there as well.
fun challenge is the 7 Amaro Sazerac. I think that'd probably be a pretty tricky one to get done. The
Sure, or
lab,
even
the lab would have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, or even
Yeah,
the 8 tomorrow, which
geez.
is the one we do.
My fault.
Well, he was trying to make it easier on them. It's really
Yeah,
all he was like,
Right.
I think we
it's
can get up
real.
to 7 Amari, but I mean,
There's not
ultimately,
quite enough
eight
room
might
for
be-
8.
8 is too much.
bridge too
Well, that-
far.
It would
That
just be
kinda
one
brings me
tomorrow.
to,
though, right? It would just be one
Basically.
Octa Amari.
I've made that comment many times. Once you blend so many together, you've simply made a new one. So it's really just one tomorrow.
A
just
Right,
proprietary
Greg?
blend.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like something I wanted to ask about, like what's next, like, because now that you've got all of these ways of like, recreating all of these classic flavors of like Nonino, Yellow Chartreuse, Aperol, like recreating them in a lab, like, is the next step not just like, okay, we're gonna figure out how to recreate like green chartreuse? Is the next step like, well, let's take like some of these botanicals from here and some of these from here and fuse them into this entirely new thing and like see what we can play around with that? Is that an avenue that y'all have ever looked into?
I think they still want to do things that are somewhat familiar, that have a niche but have a following. And I think that's it's funny how difficult even just like people still think a daiquiri isn't like the classic short daiquiri. They expect it to be something different, and we still had to do in 2023 2024 a good bit of education just on the tip top canned daiquiri in markets that aren't major metropolitan markets, because that's the thing. You can be out in the suburbs of Atlanta, which we call OTP, outside the perimeter, and people can buy a penicillin and a Naked and Famous, and they probably never heard of it before. So it's I think this also puts people onto new things, but there has to be some sort of level of familiarity, at least for the cocktail geek. So I don't think we're looking to create new drinks that haven't been done in the Tip Top format yet.
Sure, and that's okay. That's okay. You've only got so many marks, and there are so many absolute classics that would work in this format. And then I'm sure that there's so many more modern classics that fit in the format as well. And
Absolutely.
if you're dropping something out there that at least a section of your demographic has a familiarity with, then you've already sold that many, right? You say, I'm going to make 100,000 of these, but I'm pretty sure I've got 60,000 of them sold to a fan base already, because they'll buy 20,000, but they'll buy 3 times. And then we've got the remaining 40,000 to sell to the new people, right? But hopefully they get turned on to it by that original group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just explained Econ 101 to you guys.
Still bringing the house down.
That's
Well, guys, I know that you're all very busy people, clearly. So I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Speakeasy. And guys, now it's just great seeing your faces here and getting to chat with you and catch up. It's been too long. Got to make this more frequently.
We miss you in New York, Damon.
Yeah, I hear you. Me too. Well, come out and stay with me on my farm out here, and we'll drink some Tip Top cocktails. Because I'm not gonna mix you one. You just have to pull out of the cooler, and that'll be fine. But seriously, this has been awesome. Everyone should go check out Tip Top Proper Cocktails. It's just, again, great packaging, great stuff inside as well, and great people behind it. And some of their faces are on it. So there's that.
Yeah.
Sam, Joaquin, Miles, it's been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show. We're booked out for like the rest of the year, and I got these in the mail, and I was like, we got to expedite this. We got to get these guys on the show, because I don't want to wait. Yeah. Because I knew that the longer these sit around in my refrigerator, the harder it's going to be. You'd have to send me extra samples.
Well, yeah.
But this is awesome.
And then we were like, well, we can do it as like a bonus episode and then release it for our Patreon regulars. But then we're like, no, we can. This is too good. Like this is a bonus episode for everybody. But if you like this bonus episode, there's more where that came from. If you become one of our regulars, you heard all about it this week. But you can go to our Patreon page. Link is in the show notes. Get all kinds of great stuff there. Video podcasts, bonus episodes just like this one, guest cocktail recipes, and a free shaker and spoon kit every month if you buy us a bottle of whiskey. So just something to consider there, folks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Everyone could go check out Tip Top Cocktails. The Instagram, I forget, is just Tip Top Proper Cocktails.
Tip Top Proper Cocktails. Yeah, and you can buy cans direct from the site.
Right.
And so thanks everybody.
It's got there's a giraffe with a top hat and a monocle. I mean, how could you not like that? So
that's the brand. That's the one you want. If you see that, you're in the right place.
Well, cool, guys. That's it for the Speakeasy this week. Love you guys. Great job. Can't wait to see you. And everyone, go get some Tip Top Proper Cocktails. Until next week. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers,
Thanks for having us. Cheers, guys.
Hey listeners, thank you so much for listening to HRN. We want to make your experience as a listener even better, and to help us do that, we'd love your input on our audience survey. It'll only take a few minutes, and by completing it, you can enter to win a $250 gift card from Goldbelly. Visit heritageradionetwork.org/survey to take the survey and to help us keep growing and improving. That's heritageradionetwork.org/survey. Thanks for your support.